Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Fantasy Tip Show. Straight off the bat, Game Week 26 is here, the biggest game week ever. This is the earliest stream as well ever done on this channel. I mean, the graduates are already breaking more records. They already have the most appearances on the channel. They now also have the earliest stream on the channel as well. So just the graduates doing the graduates thing. So, apologies for any tired voices and all that. So, deadline stream. This is the second deadline stream of the season as well. So let me introduce the guests first. Josh, how are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, man. Hope you're doing well.
Absolutely. I think having City playing fast also helps with all the drama. Ben, how are you?
Yeah, I'm a bit nervous because usually I sleep through the deadline, so I'm just keeping my FPL team away from me at the moment.
Yeah, it's usually same for me. Like you literally just check other people's teams during the deadline and stuff. So it's a big week, man. Big week. So send in any questions you have, and we'll try. I'll try and end it like 5 minutes before, so that these guys who are playing chips, Josh is playing his bench boost, and Ben is playing his triple captain, can have like a few 5 minutes to think about it. Because if you're live and you're playing such a big chip, you're gonna go crazy. So, Josh, how has it been this week so far? Planning your it's not bench boost, it's wildcard bench boost.
Bench boost.
Wildcard bench boost. I'm confused. Yeah, it's so early in the morning. It's so early in the morning. So how has it been planning the whole week?
Yeah, it's well, the most of the planning went into it a couple of weeks ago because obviously having to bring all the players in on my wild card because you can't use 2 chips in a week. Bit of a headache with Maddison going and getting injured. Have El Mohammadi, who might or might not play. And then obviously I took out Danny Ings already for a DCL just because I don't like the look of Southampton, to be honest. And I think that's a smart move in the long run anyway to get me some more points. So a few selection headaches, definitely, but hopefully it should pay off. And although I don't have 11 double game, well, I have 11, but there's 2 keepers. I think it will still be a very good bench boost with the fixtures that I've got on that bench.
Had you already planned to use your bench boost? Or is it like after the fixtures were announced last week?
Yeah, I already wildcarded before the fixtures were announced because I went off Ben Credden's information on Twitter. And yeah, I think this is probably the best time to bench boost in terms of the potential upside that obviously you could get from it. There's so many teams that are playing good doubles as well. Let's not forget they're not difficult doubles that we've seen like earlier in the season in like game week 19. So I think it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, how about you, Ben? When did you decide to use your triple captain?
Well, I was kind of waiting on those fixtures as Josh was, and yeah, I chose the triple captain option because I felt like my fixtures on the bench weren't as strong. I had a player with City away, Cresswell, had all my players with single game week, so I didn't think it was worth it in the grand scheme of things. I could see if I wanted to make it worth it, I'd have to take a few minus hits to do it. So I thought, you know what, I don't think it's going to be a better opportunity than triple captaining. A lot of these players who are triple captain options have good fixtures, or at least one exceptional fixture. So I thought, you know what, I may as well just cash in on that triple captainship. It is very much a extremely hyped up chip in the FPL community. So I thought, you know what, bite the bullet, get it done, and then I don't have to worry about triple captainship for the rest of the season.
It's a very interesting week, as I saw FPL Graduates tweeting yesterday about the spread in captaincy this week. There are very many people captaining Salah. There's a few tipping Calvert-Lewin. There's others who thought of Richarlison like myself. Sterling, there's Mahrez, there's Gundogan, there's Jesus, there's De Bruyne, there's Bruno Fernandes, Rashford. So many players. So, Josh, I'll start with you. Which teams have you been targeting most this week?
So the main ones probably looking towards are Man City. Obviously, they have a double game week next week as well. So 4 fixtures within 2 game weeks is unreal. Spurs, because obviously got a great run of fixtures now. Fulham and Burnley this week, probably 2 of the best fixtures you can cherry pick, really. Although they've been better defensively, I still see Harry Kane and Son doing some bits in those games. And then also Everton, who again have Southampton, who are probably the most out of form team in the Premier League right now. And as well as, who else? Who's their second game?
West Brom.
West Brom. It slipped my mind. I had it in my head and then it just left. So yeah, so some really good teams there. The likes of Lucas Digne, DCL, Richarlison, as you mentioned. They're very good options going forward for this week.
Yeah, and the one word you missed out from the City games, all 4 home games. All of them are home games. That was just crazy. Like, I've never seen a team playing 4 home games in a row. So it's crazy. Ben, any other teams you've been targeting with the differentials? I wouldn't be surprised if you said Fulham or West Brom.
I mean, to be honest, a Fulham defender you wouldn't go wrong with that, given their current form. In terms of targeting teams, I didn't target Tottenham this week. There's only 2 assets that you can really bring in. That's Son and Kane. Had Son already in my team, so I felt that I had the coverage I needed in that squad, especially as over the last 6 game weeks, they've scored the least amount of goals in the league, which is crazy to me. But the one player I did target to get in is an Everton one, DCL. I mean, those 2 fixtures are the best fixtures you could go for. The worst defensive team over the past 6-7 game weeks, with their main midfielder Romeo out, half their defense missing, against DCL. I mean, that's going to be a good watch for any FPL owner. And then, of course, like you said, West Brom, the worst defensive team in the league as a whole season. I mean, you'd almost be tempted to bring in 2 or potentially even 3 Everton assets for this week, because those 2 fixtures are really, really nice.
Yeah, I don't own DCL. I own Richarlison, and the 2 game weeks I've owned him, he scored against City, and 3 game weeks, I think, was one of them was a double game week. He scored against Liverpool and City, and he blanked against Fulham. So I'm happy with those returns. So let me bring up the fixtures right now. Josh, there's so many fixtures, so take us through the first 10.
So obviously we kick off today at 12:30, Man City West Ham. It's going to be a big game and probably set a lot of people forward for their game weeks. Obviously, City assets are usually tripled up on, and if you're not, you're a bit crazy not to. West Brom Brighton, 3:00. Bit of a dead one, to be fair. I think both teams just only game of the game week. I have Ben White as the only asset from that. Leeds Aston Villa is going to be a big one. A lot of people have Leeds players, obviously, from last game week. A lot of people have Aston Villa players because they're playing quite well. Newcastle Wolves, bit of a dead FPL fixture, I think, to end the day. Crystal Palace Fulham at lunchtime tomorrow, as well as Leicester Arsenal. Some good games there to be watching. Sunday's full of the good ones. Spurs Burnley at 2, followed by Chelsea Man United at 4:30, and then Sheffield United Liverpool at 7:15. So some really nice games through Saturday and Sunday. It's going to see a lot of points this week, I think.
Yeah, I love FPL so much. So just randomly just sitting down last night and just thinking, how comes Ben really loves like Marge? And then I remember this guy's first name is Josh from nowhere. And then you just mentioned right now that Ben White. I also just remembered this guy is called Ben. I remembered Ben yesterday. So yeah, random FPL thoughts at night after dinner. You just wonder like, why the hell do these guys own these players? So on Tuesday, there's City against Wolves, another very, very good game to watch if you own City players. I also think someone like Neto would score against City on Tuesday. I don't think they'll keep a clean sheet. Burnley against Leicester on Wednesday, same time with Sheffield United and Aston Villa. I really wish they could have had these games like separate times. Crystal Palace against Josh's Manchester United, the last game on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, Fulham against Spurs. I had many people predicting Fulham win here. That would be interesting. West Brom against Everton at the same time. Not sure which team I'll watch. They have Son, Kane, all those players. And then Liverpool against Chelsea, the last game on Thursday. Pretty sure maybe Alisson could be missing or something like that. So, yeah. So, Ben, out of all those fixtures, let's say the first 10 fixtures, which one are you looking forward to most?
In terms of that's some question. The game I'm looking forward to the most, probably in that first fixture, to watch from a neutral perspective and an FPL perspective, it's got to be Man United against Chelsea. I think that's going to be a really good game. I know traditionally this season in the league, the top 6, when they play each other, it tends to be a bit cagey and tends to be low scoring, but I do see with Tuchel coming up against a quality side for the first time with his Chelsea's team, we could see him concede a lot of goals in his team, and then on the flip side, Chelsea going forwards, and they've proven that they can score too. So I think we could see a few goals in that. I'm also looking forward to in the first set of fixtures, Crystal Palace against Fulham. I think Palace is one of the worst defensive teams in the league, up against the GOAT Josh Maja and Areola in goal. That'll actually be quite exciting for me to watch, and I think a lot of FPL players probably won't even watch that fixture, but I'll be sat there. I'll be watching.
Yeah. How about the second part of the fixtures, Josh?
Yeah, a lot of good ones in there. I think you can't really look too far ahead of that Man City Wolves game. I think that would again determine a lot of people's teams and how many points they're getting. A lot of rotation, obviously, whether their defensive double-ups play both games. It'll be interesting to see how Pep manages the minutes throughout both of these games. And also, I think is that a good one, obviously, Spurs Fulham. Obviously, Ben mentioned Fulham against Palace, but I think in the alternative, it'll be interesting to see if Spurs can break down that Fulham side, who have been renowned for being very well defensively, but they have been conceding goals at home to the top six teams, conceded 2 to United, 1 to Chelsea. So not very high scoring, but they do tend to concede.
Yeah, Ben, 14 teams have a double game week this week. So which one have you tried to avoid the most?
I've tried to avoid those Chelsea assets, to be honest, out of all the teams that have doubles. They've got 2 really tough fixtures. And I mean, looking forward to the next sort of month in all competitions, I don't think there's a team in Europe with a harder run of fixtures. They've got United, they've got Liverpool, they've got Atletico again to come. They've got so many really tough fixtures coming up. And I just can't see too many returns coming out of that from a defensive perspective and going forward. I mean, it's a tough fixture, and probably you'll gain a better understanding, I think, of what assets in the future you could look to get. So it's almost like the next sort of couple of weeks is almost like a scouting mission for FPL managers in Chelsea. But yeah, this week, the team to avoid in terms of FPL.
Josh, how about you? It's interesting because most of the big games this season have ended in a 0-0 draw. So if any of their games end in a 0-0 draw, like Liverpool against Chelsea, then United against Chelsea, that could be big points for their defenders. But which team have you avoided yourself?
Yeah, I agree with Ben with Chelsea. Obviously, both their games aren't the most ideal, definitely for a double game week. But I think another one is going to be Leicester. Ever since obviously Maddison got injured, I feel like their output's going to be dropped significantly. I'm not saying that they won't score goals or create goals, etc., but I think they're going to start to struggle if he's not back pretty soon. And I think he will be out for a good couple of weeks. Definitely both of these game weeks, that's for sure.
Yeah, he also has a very tough fixture against Arsenal, obviously. For me, it has to be Burnley. Like, I know people have had the likes of Loughton, including some freak you had on your show yesterday who captained Loughton. I'm still wondering who's this guy who captains Loughton? Who does that? But yeah, fair play. There's also Pope and all that. I think they'll concede a bunch of goals against Tottenham and Leicester. I think they'll lose like 3 or 4. I think last season it was 5-0 to Spurs in this fixture, and I can actually see the same. I don't think Kane and Son will be that bad for every single week. I think this is the week where they'll be like playing really well. So let's take a few questions before getting to the next topic. Regular, obviously, Shiv. I'll give you this, Josh. Shiv asks, captain DCL or Bruno? I'm leaning towards DCL.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Obviously, DCL definitely has the better fixtures. He's in a little bit of form. I would say he's in massive form right now. He won the penalty against Liverpool. And then obviously Bruno has returned pretty well in the last 4 weeks. And fixtures-wise, they are still good, but obviously nowhere near as good as DCL's fixtures. For me personally, I'd go Bruno just because it hurts your rank if you don't captain him. So there's obviously the plus side there. And also it's less risky. You're almost guaranteeing Bruno to return in one of those away games. The guy's only not returned, I think, in 3 or 4 away games this season. So it's a no-brainer for me this week for Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah, I agree. Like, you obviously know, I won't use the word hate for United, but I always like, looking at those fixtures. I think you'll actually get like more than 2 goals in both games. So I can only see him getting involved, even if you draw 2-2 or 3-3 on one of the games. Ben, I'll give you the next one from Fadsley, who asked, if you have one transfer, who would you take, Ricardo Pereira or Bertrand Traore?
I think Ricardo Pereira is one of them players who I wish I could be able to bring in at this point. He's almost going to be playing in a right attacking midfield role, as we saw in midweek. He was playing really high up the pitch. His average positioning was pretty much, well, in the opposition half the whole time, which I think for a defensive asset is incredible. So I think definitely a good option because his attacking return output is going to be much higher as a result of Maddison being out, which is pretty strange, but it's true. So I definitely prefer him over Traore, who may not start every game because there's a lot of competition for his place. So yeah, Ricardo Pereira for me.
Yeah, I love YouTube so much because for us, we're just guessing about Leicester City's injuries, but we have an actual Leicester fan in the chat, LCFC boy. I'll be doing an opposition preview with him later today for Leicester Arsenal. He says rumors that Maddison could be back for Wednesday. So, Josh, does that matter, or you just as long as he's missing the first game, you have you don't tip him at all?
Yeah, it's a good boost for those people who've brought in like Harvey Barnes. He's been brought in by over 1 million people this game week, which is absolutely insane. But yeah, it's good. It's good to hear that he's back because I loved owning him for that 1 week. I think he's a class player to watch. He's one of those fun FPL assets that you can get your hands on. So if that's true, that's really good, and hopefully he doesn't re-injure himself or anything like that. So that'll be decent.
Yeah, EGTV girl, how are you? He says Maddison not out for a few weeks. Anyway, as long as he's out for the Arsenal game, I am not complaining. That guy those guys really actually, we have a poor record at their places because of Maddison and Vardy. So I'm happy that he's out. Good luck to him, all the best with the injury. But as long as he misses the Arsenal game, that's cool. Ben, since you're playing the chip, he asks triple captain, yes or no? Or are there better weeks next time? Or best week to triple captain?
It's a difficult one with the triple captain chip. I think you've just got to use it when it feels right. I think the bench boost is definitely more definitive when you should use it based on the fixtures you've got. I think if your bench is right this week and it looks good, there's not going to be a better bench for the rest of the season, in my opinion. So the triple captain chip, I think you just got to base it on whether you think they're really going to return a high score. And if you think, yes, I think my asset will get a really high return this week and hit that triple captain. But I don't think it's as definitive as, yes, this is the week to use it, or no, this isn't the week to use it. It's not one of those chips that you can do that sort of thing with.
Josh, Andrew says, I took Maddison out for Barnes. Is it? He seems worried about that.
I won't be too worried. I think although Maddison is out, I think they'll still score goals, like without a doubt. They've still got some very good quality players in that team. And although obviously he's probably the most creative one, I still see Harvey Barnes probably netting a goal, maybe getting an assist in this game week. So yeah, I still don't think it's a bad move. I just personally, for me, I think there's better options when Leicester don't have Maddison in their team.
Shiv asks bench boost with Meslier, Mitchell, Rafinha, and Bamford. I love Rafinha and Bamford against Aston Villa. The injuries all over the place. I love the two. Meslier as well. I could see Aston Villa not scoring in this game. I wouldn't be surprised. Mitchell playing against, is it Fulham at home? So yeah, I'd probably say yes. I'd probably say yes myself because of especially Bamford and Rafinha. This guy created so many chances, Rafinha, in the Wolves game, and the chance he missed against which team was it? Yeah, the last team they played anyway. But he had so many chances I couldn't believe it. He could have had like 40 points. So Josh, would you bench boost as well? That team?
Probably not. Just because of Mitchell, I think he's in and out of the Palace team. Plus, Palace defensively are a bit woeful. So yeah, and also the Leeds triple up is obviously I've got it as well, but isn't probably not as detrimental in terms of my budget, because obviously I have Stroikin, who's like 3.9 million, so he's probably the best of a bad bunch. Rafinha and Bamford, though, they're very good to have on the bench boost. I think even for single game week players, like Leeds can pop off at any moment. So having both of them, especially with Rafinha's run of form right now, is more than ideal. I think I've looked around Rafinha's price point, and I don't see a midfielder that will get as many returns as him this week, even with double game week fixtures. So yeah, I think if you maybe took out Mitchell and maybe Meslier, but not for a hit, I think it could be worth it.
Did you have his name is very hard to pronounce, striker, before he scored against Arsenal a couple of weeks ago?
No, I brought him in on my wild card. I think I got him in after he scored. Just because I watched Leeds a lot, because obviously I had Bamford, and I think I captained him the week after or the week before or something. And I've seen his how dangerous he is from set pieces, especially with Rafinha's crossing ability. It's a no-brainer for 3.9 million. I think he's 4 now though.
Okay, thanks for that. Next, we're gonna go to a team reveal. That's what they call it on FPL Fridays. So I just use it here since they're here. Team reveal. So I'll go fast. So for my team, as you can see on screen right now, the sub is made. I had Lacazette up front, and I had like 5 million in the bank, and I had to do it, man. I think Josh brought him in a wildcard or something. And I was like, Kane has to be in. Kane has Fulham and Burnley. He has to be in, man. He'll get a penalty somewhere. He'll get a goal somewhere. I've been really considering Son as well because of the clean sheet, the 1 point clean sheet and stuff. But I've just realized that Kane is on penalties and stuff. So I'm like, I decided on him. So Areola in goal against Crystal Palace and Tottenham. Maybe he'll not keep a clean sheet, but a couple of save points here and there. Michael Keane really disappointed me in the last double game week for them. He has Southampton and West Brom. Surely somewhere he could get a goal or something. Stones at home to West Ham and Wolves. Good to see in the last 3 Premier League game weeks plus the Champions League game. I think he's not played in 2 of those, so in the Borussia game and also 1 Premier League game. So I think he'll play both. Shaw, absolutely love him. Josh, Shaw, absolutely love him. Like, the way he was going forward for most of the game weeks, I had to bring him in very, very soon. So I've had him now for 6 weeks. I've not regretted it. Saka on the right side, I have to have one Arsenal player, even though there's possibility for Saka getting rested this week because he's played literally every single game. Son at home to Burnley and away to Fulham, very, very good. Fernandes, as Josh said earlier, very, very good option. Sterling, I just have him because I couldn't have anyone else. If I could have De Bruyne, I would, because he rested in the Champions League. Sterling, I have a bad feeling he'll not play both games. Bamford up front, another one who should have had most goals every single week, should have had more goals. Kane and Richarlison up front. I'm really considering Kane and Richarlison for captaincy. But the thing I usually don't like with Richarlison is the fact that when he gets fouled, he starts complaining. It's very easy for him to get a yellow card every single time, just like Zaha, and I hate that. So I'm not risking it on him. But yeah, it's a very good option for this week. Plus on my bench, Anguissa, we've talked about Anguissa with Ben so many times the last 3 weeks. He's just going to sit on my bench. Maybe he'll start one of those games. But yeah, I think the squad is okay. Webster needs to go out of my team very soon. That's one of the reasons I'm not playing my bench boost. And Kufal as the last sub. As I said on FPL Graduates review, the link is down in the description. Kufal, if we had like 8 subs, I would have had Kufal as the 8th sub. Because City, I think they'll hammer them in the next 2 hours. So Barton, again, another goalkeeper who needs to go out. So that's my team. Kane captaincy. As of now, it could change in the next 20 minutes. So yeah, let's go to Josh's team. But first of all, any changes that I've made to that, Josh? Would you take a -4, let's say, to take out Saka or Webster or someone?
No, I think your 11 looks good. I just would change your vice captain off Son, because I made the mistake of having 2 City assets on captain and vice this season. So I wouldn't want you falling through the same trap. So yeah, maybe just move it to like Bruno or Sterling or even Richarlison, and I think you'll be good to go. It looks really solid. I like Keane as a pick. I think 2 clean sheets could be quite nailed on there, especially with how poor West Brom and Southampton are.
That's why I have the professionals on this show. That will be done in the next 1 minute. So let's go into Josh's team.
Yeah, so it's bench boost time for me. Obviously had the wild card set from a couple of weeks ago now. So Emi Martinez will be in goal. I really see him getting 15 to 20 points potentially if he can pick up those bonuses in those games. I think the fixtures are there to do it, and Sheffield United have got so many injuries right now that they should really not be troubling an Aston Villa side. El Mohammadi's a sticky one because Matty Cash is back in training. I didn't expect him to return so fast. When obviously Cash got injured, it said 3 to 4 weeks when I was doing my wild card. He's sort of recovered quite quickly, which is good for Villa. But hopefully Mohammadi can at least play in one of those fixtures. Luke Shaw, like Glenn said, unreal going forward. United should keep a clean sheet in one of those games at least. Cancelo, one of my favourite assets to own throughout the whole of this season. Just love the way he plays. He's like on the edge of their box all the time. So attacking returns are absolutely exponential with him. Bruno Fernandes, captain, just great fixtures. And like I mentioned earlier, the effective ownership really does screw you over in terms of owning him without captaining him. So if you do captain him, it's just like a really big bonus the way I see it. Mo Salah, vice captain. I think he's a good shout for a potential captaincy this week if you don't have Bruno. But yeah, really nice fixtures. Very similar to Man United assets in terms of having Chelsea and then having a poorer team in the first one. Gundogan, West Ham and Wolves at home. Decent fixtures again. I don't think he'll play both games as he played the full 90 in midweek. And obviously he's just come back from an injury. So I think maybe see him against Wolves rather than West Ham, which I'd prefer anyway. Bamford at home to Villa. He's an absolute gun, man. One of the top goal scorers this season in the league. Can't have him not playing against Villa, who tend to concede some goals sometimes. You know, he's got a hat trick in the reverse fixture, so hopefully he'll do that again. He's now got Emi Martinez in goal. Harry Kane, like Glenn said, he's a must-own this week. Burnley home, Fulham away, unreal fixtures. Calvert-Lewin almost the same. Had Danny Ings, who doubles next week, but Calvert-Lewin's definitely got the better fixtures, and with Southampton's form, there's no way to look past Calvert-Lewin. Areola is my bench goalkeeper. Again, expect at least a clean sheet and some save points out of that. Ben White, West Brom away. I think that's a great fixture for a single game week player because obviously I'm aiming towards the blank 29 as well on my wild card. It's not all just for the doubles. And then, as I mentioned, Struijk on the bench. Again, any chance from a corner or a set piece, I think he can score, as well as Rafinha, who's been mad creative and been probably the best player in the Premier League right now in terms of form. He just looks fantastic, and I think he could play in literally any top 6 team easily. He's probably a player that a lot of those teams like Man United need, a right-sided midfielder. And then obviously Bernardo Silva's my riskier option, shall we say, this week. Obviously he plays a lot of minutes for City, and I think he'll do a good job. If he plays at least one of those games, I'll be happy. I think that's what a lot of people's mentality is when it comes to Man City players now. If they play one of the two, you'll be happy. And I think he will definitely play one, if not feature in both. So I'm happy with Bernardo Silva. And the guy who's number 1 in the world, as I mentioned yesterday, has him. He's more than good enough for me.
Yeah, that's all. But he's been nervous the last few weeks. Number 2 is really catching up. So as you can see in that team, you can literally captain anyone. Salah, you could captain Gundogan, you could captain Kane, Calvert-Lewin, Bamford if you're okay with a one-week player like Fernandes. Could even go for El Mohamed if you're feeling brave, even though Cash is back. Sure, so many options. So that's why I agree with FPL Graduates in terms of it could be a widespread this week. So Bernardo Silva is your transfer in this week, right?
Yeah, Bernardo Silva and Calvert-Lewin. I took a -4 because I just wanted Ings out. Calvert-Lewin's fixtures are too tasty.
Yeah, before they lose 2-0 in the first game and then they lose 2-1 in the second game. Them getting subbed off at halftime. It usually looks very tasty, but after the game week, it's tears. So that's a good team. Ben, anything to say about that team?
I've already slandered him for the Bernardo Silva pick yesterday because he's playing the Pep Roulette game, and I think you could have maybe picked a player who this week in the short term is guaranteed to play 2 games rather than hoping that he's going to play a game and City smash someone, because West Ham and Wolves aren't the easiest fixtures. West Ham have one of the best defences in the league this season, and Wolves don't tend to concede too many either. But, you know, it's a risk. And if it pays off, then he's going to have a huge rank climb. But yeah, it's interesting to see with these captaincy picks. I expect Bruno's expected ownership at around 150% this week. Same with Salah, he's going to be over 100% expected ownership, and Kane as well. I expect him to be over 100% expected ownership. So it's got to be one of those three for captaincy for pretty much everyone this week if you want to maintain and improve on rank.
Yeah, I remember early on in the season, because the many shows we've done with these guys, like I remember we've owned McCarthy at the same time, we've now owned Ariola at the same time, they've owned Cresswell at the same time. There's a time FPL graduates were making fun of me because I actually had Torres and Bernardo Silva in my team, as well as Walker. So talk about playing the Pep Roulette, Ben. I was deep. I was like on the three players we usually never play.
That gives me severe anxiety.
And then Jesus later on, and Josh captained him. I also did the same with Jesus. So the good thing is that Torres scored a couple of goals and I owned him, but Bernardo Silva literally did nothing 5 game weeks. I owned him, so I'd say he's a fraud. But let's see what he does for Josh. If you check out his goals as well, most of them are like not so sure, because one of them was supposed to be an offside, for example. So let's see how they do. So good team. Fernandes captaincy, I cannot argue that. Ben, your team?
Yeah, this is what it's looking like at the moment. So in goal, we've gone Areola. I expect the clean sheet in the first game and then save points in that Tottenham game. I don't expect a clean sheet from that one. I think Tottenham will score against them. Centre backs, I've gone Ruben Diaz. I think he's going to start both games for me. He's too crucial in that City team. Matt Target, I really like his fixtures this week. Leeds away and Sheffield United away. And he's with Grealish out, I think Aston Villa are going to go to him a lot more for an attacking output perspective. We've seen before Grealish sort of plays on the inside of where Target plays. So I can see him picking up a few points here and there. Cancelo, like Josh said, he's a really nice asset to own. Whether I think he's going to play 2 games, no, but his ownership is high enough for me not to worry about it at all, really. Yeah, in midfield, it's where it gets interesting. Triple captain Bruno Fernandes. Like I said yesterday, I think he's due a dodgy penalty against the top 6 team. It's about time he got another one. Salah, again, I think he's a good option, but I just wasn't tempted by it due to Liverpool's form right now. Son in there for my Spurs coverage. I mean, it's not ideal that I couldn't fit Kane in, but we'll settle for having Son instead. I don't think it's the end of the world, to be honest. Rafinha, as Josh said, one of the most informed players in the league right now. He's doing everything right to get in double-digit hauls, you know, on a game-by-game basis. So I'm really happy to have him in my team this week. Gundogan, again, I don't think he's going to play 2 games. I think he's going to play probably 120 minutes over those 2 games, maybe. And then up top, Madja, I expect a goal in both games against Palace and Tottenham. I think Tottenham's defence won't know what they're dealing with. And then Calvert-Lewin as well up front. He's my free transfer in this week. Didn't take any hits at all. And yeah, on my bench, it does look like a good bench, but I'm not good enough to bench boost for me. McCarthy, just not great, is he? Not great. He was good earlier on in the season when he had a defence protecting him, but now that the defence is injured, it's like, what's the point in owning him? I think Areola's been in my first choice keeper for like 4 or 5 game weeks now. Ings, Dallas and Cresswell. I'm probably the most concerned about Danny Ings because I'm not 100% on that Everton defence, keeping a clean sheet against Southampton. But, you know, I'd rather have the double game week players in. And so many people have transferred Ings out that, you know, I'm not too fussed about that. He's got a double game week next week. So, yeah, I'll just look towards that. But, yeah, that's what my team's setting up as this week.
I think he'll score as well. I think Ings will score against Everton anyway, so I don't expect a clean sheet from Michael Keane in that one. I love the way Ben will just talk about Rafinha and manage to ignore Bamford like he doesn't play for the same team. I love how he does that. And also, if you're new to FPL, you'd probably think this guy is Josh Maja, the way Ben bigs him up. You think this guy's name is Josh Maja. Like, score in both games, that would be interesting. But yeah, I saw him getting interviewed yesterday, and he seems very, very positive about everything. So, Josh, what do you make of his team? Any changes you'd have made?
No, I think it looks very good going forward, especially if he's not bench boosting this week. I think it's probably one of the strongest teams you could maybe put out. Be interesting to see if Josh Maja does return. Because if he does, I think you can see a huge rank climb. Because everyone else around him is going to be performing at a solid rate, as you'd expect. So yeah, I think it's a very good team. I think it's 10 doubles in there. So for someone who's not really wild carded and anything like that, I think it's a very good side.
Yeah, before we get into the captain picks, let's take a few more questions from the chat. I'll start with you, Josh. Who to play between Wan-Bissaka and Bamford from Ishan?
Yeah, I read this one earlier and I was thinking a bit of a tough one, to be honest. Although Bamford, obviously, I'd always say play the attacker, but Wan-Bissaka's got two very nice fixtures. Well, one very nice fixture, one decent fixture in terms of defensive capability of clean sheets. It obviously goes forward a lot, Wan-Bissaka now. We've seen him obviously pick up quite a few attacking returns this season compared to last. If I had to pick, I'd probably lean towards Wan-Bissaka just because of the double. But I would strongly suggest you think about it harder in terms of, because Patrick Bamford always can score. He's so jammy, and that's why I love owning him. He'll score out of nothing. So, yeah, it's a tough one, but I'd lean towards AWB.
The one thing with those players, they always play. Wan-Bissaka and Bamford, so that's a good thing. But for Wan-Bissaka, I think in the Chelsea game, very easily you could pick up a yellow card and concede 2 goals and have a 0 point if he doesn't assist or something. So probably I'd still go for Bamford. I feel like we get 2 goals against Aston Villa. The next one, Ben from EGTV, from Bruno, DCL or Salah. I'm leaning towards Bruno triple captain. Who's the better option there?
Well, I've got all 3 as well, so I can make a pretty good judgment on it. I think I don't trust DCL necessarily. He's looked decent, but like I say, he's had 1 or 2 games since back from injury. So whether he can hit the ground running, it's like a bit up in the air for me, and it's a bit more of a risk. I think between Salah and Bruno, you can't really go wrong because of how high each of their ownerships is. I'd go Bruno for the fact that I think he'd get more returns against Chelsea than Salah would against Chelsea. So that's my thinking behind that. I saw Josh raise his eyebrows there. But yeah, I think Man United pose more of a threat to Chelsea than Liverpool do based on the way that they play. Man United obviously very quick on the counter-attack, a very good counter-attacking team. So yeah, it kind of falls into Bruno just a little bit more for me than Salah.
Okay, Josh, Shiv asks, will there be another week as good as this to bench boost? For me to answer that question, a couple of weeks ago, and I had the triple captain still, and I had the bench boost as well. I was asking myself the same question: should I triple captain Sterling against Everton or Tottenham? Will there be a better week? But as Ben said earlier, it just depends on your team and how you're feeling to play the chips. So you just play it whenever you'd like. I wouldn't say I wish I'd have kept the triple captains for later, because City did get 6 goals against Tottenham and Everton, and Sterling got 1 assist and he was on the pitch for all the goals. So that was very disappointing. It's not like it was tough fixtures for them anyway because they got 6 goals. So just bad luck. So any better week, Josh?
On paper, you have to say no. It's mainly due to the fixtures this week. Like pretty much everyone, all the big 6 teams other than Chelsea, have very, very nice fixtures. You look at Spurs, Liverpool, United, Man City, even City fixtures are pretty decent in my eyes. I think they'll still win both those games comprehensively. So no, I don't think there is a better week to bench boost, but don't wreck your team apart if you are going to take -12s and whatnot. I think a -4 is the maximum you should go to in terms of sorting a bench boost out this week. I don't think it's worth bench boosting if you're going to have to take a serious amount of minuses, because at the end of the day, like a 16 pointer from your bench boost is usually a decent score anyway. So yeah, I wouldn't wreck your team for it.
Ben, Brian asks, Brain, interesting name. Triple captaining Rashford, thoughts?
That's a big call there. I was looking at him and I was thinking about him and how yesterday we was just saying he's really low owned. So if he does return and does get a huge haul, you're going to see massive rises in your rank and that sort of thing. I don't think it's a bad call, to be honest. I think that Crystal Palace game is definitely set up for him to do well in. The Chelsea game, maybe not so much, but if you're looking at someone differential as a captaincy pick that plays in one of either Tottenham, Man United, or Liverpool, I think he's probably the best one out of all of them teams.
Genius. I'll give you, Ben, this one as well. I'll give you the next one, Josh. Should I have Cresswell in or Kilman?
Oh, I'd probably say. See, this is a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do Wolves have a double game week fixture? Don't they?
I'm not sure.
Let me just double check.
Kilman is a 50-50 player though. Like even the Wolves fans are saying he should be benched. Like maybe he should play. Like he's all over the place. You literally wouldn't know they'll get a 1 pointer from the bench. But
I'd probably play Kilman, to be honest. I can only see Cresswell this week. Cresswell, I can only see him getting 2 points this week. City defensively are so good, and Cresswell is in a lot of teams for the attacking output. Wolves have Newcastle and City in the double, so that Newcastle game is probably nicer to have rather than just the single City. So it's the extra game, and yeah, you may as well just go and put Kilman in instead of Cresswell, because you know it's more likely that a clean sheet's coming from your asset then.
Did you say Cresswell 2 points? Are you saying they'll concede 1 goal? I think it will be 0. Krish, I'll give you the next one, Josh, because we didn't like the City roulette, me and Ben. Krish asks, Foden a good shout for this week. Will he play?
Yeah, I think any of the City attackers are a good shout for this week. I think although they've got not the best fixtures, they're still decent fixtures, and especially for Man City, considering the run of form they're on, they're playing unbelievable right now. I do think he will play. I don't think he'll play both. It's very rare that Foden plays 2 games in a row. So you'll probably look for 1 game, but Foden's probably one of the most explosive players out of the lot. So, and especially at his price, like 6 million, like those Manchester City midfielders at 6 million, it's just so cheap, and like you can afford to take the risk when they're that cheap at like anything below like 7 million. It's more than happy if you're playing only 1 game out of the 2.
Yeah, and then the last one for you, Josh, from Lovely Lad, Martinez or Schmeichel to play?
Defo, Emi Martinez. Leicester, although they have obviously 2 okay games, I think the 2 Aston Villa games are much better. Leeds and Sheffield United are very good fixtures. I don't see him conceding too much, even if he does concede in the Leeds game.
Arsenal is not an okay fixture, Josh. I've told you that for like 5 months. Aubameyang is on form. Anyway, let's get into the game week 26 captain picks. Ben, who are you fancying apart from the guy you're captaining? Any guy that you don't own that you'd have loved to captain?
I think if I could pick from anyone and out of the players I don't have on my team, it'd probably be Harry.
Wait. Is that sound okay, Josh?
Yeah.
Is it sound okay? Go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
It'd probably be Harry Kane for me. I'm very scared about not owning him this week. He's shooting a lot more on site, so inevitably that's going to probably lead to more chances for him to pick up points. So yeah, any player for me, it'd be Harry Kane, because just the ceiling for him is very, very high.
Josh?
For me, it's going to be Kevin De Bruyne. I think him obviously not having to play in midweek, a fresh Kevin De Bruyne for the next 2 Premier League games, I think that's almost perfect. I see him playing in both. due to his rest in the Champions League. So I think, and his ownership as well, so low. Anything he does, like his upside is going to be absolutely massive. So Kevin De Bruyne for me.
Kevin De Bruyne. For me, I'd probably say Salah. Salah would be a good option this week, especially against Sheffield. That's a game I could see him getting 2 goals very easily. So definitely a good option. Who did you boys captain, Ben?
Triple captain Bruno Fernandes.
Triple captain Bruno Fernandes. Josh, I hope you can hear me well, by the way.
Yeah, hear you loud and clear. For me, it was just standard captain Fernandes.
Okay, and then the best part of the week is always the differential. I always look forward to doing the differentials with these guys. The gem of the week. Josh, who is your option this week?
I went with Ben White. Oh, I accidentally played a video. I went with Ben White last week.
Is that him? Is that him there?
Yeah, I just got a video of him coming up. I went with him last week, but last show yesterday. But I do want to pick someone more exciting. So I'm gonna pick. I hope he's under 10%. He's on 12%. So I'm gonna take it. Kevin De Bruyne, 12% owned. I think that is absolutely insane. The guy's unbelievable. And although he doesn't play as high up the field, due to obviously his crossing and etc., but I think he'll do some business this week. I can see him maybe picking up about 15 points in total. So Kevin De Bruyne for me.
Okay, De Bruyne. It's crazy that he's a differential, man. Ben?
I can't hear him. Is he muted?
Sorry.
He's, I think the panic is already getting in. 10 minutes to the deadline, and Ben is panicking all over the place.
Muted my mic and started screaming about my team.
Yeah.
But no, my differential of the week is going to be a player who Glenn's going to question internally, but not explain it because he knows what I'm like with differentials. It's going to be Gylfi Sigurdsson of Everton at 1.6% owned, 6.8 million. I think he's a really good option for this week. He's playing Southampton and West Brom, 2 good fixtures, on penalties, on set pieces. And over the last few game weeks has provided a better output than the likes of James Rodriguez. So I can see him getting a good return, a good haul. And for those, 1.6% who's owned him, I can see him getting some good points this week.
I'm not doubting that. I think that could be your best pick ever since we started doing the shows. Sigurdsson he's been getting goals from nowhere, those penalties and stuff, and people have been ignoring him. So good option. Last week, as you'd remember, I had Barnes, but he never played. That was very, very unfair. So for this week, people are disrespecting Crystal Palace, talking about how they were lucky to win against Brighton and stuff. So they have Fulham at home and yes, United at home. I think they'll score in both games. And if Zaha is still out, I think this time round, Eze will do the job for them. I'm going to go for Eze as the differential this week for both games. I think he'll have returns in both games. I can see a 10+ point in those games. So Eze is my option. So we have De Bruyne, a very fancy pick from Josh for differential. And then for Ben, we have Sigurdsson. And then for me, we have Eze. I'm not quite sure how much is which percentage owns him right now, but I'm very sure it's very, very low. I'm very surprised when I checked it a couple of weeks ago how lowly he was owned. So I expected more people. But yeah, those are the differential options. And then last question, Josh, 3 players that will definitely score. Last question from me.
So 3 players will score. We're going to go with Bruno Fernandes, Harry Kane, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Ben?
I mean, I was going to pick a couple of them. I'm going to go Ricardo Pereira, Bruno Fernandes, and Ollie Watkins. I'd just like to say as well, FPL Twitter's just gone into meltdown because there's rumours that Sterling isn't playing.
Glenn's shaking.
Are you serious? Are you serious? Can you just end the show right now? Like, I need 10 minutes to do so. Anyway, let me take a last question. I can see Kusha really spamming the chat. Josh, triple captain Sterling, DCL, Gundogan, or Bruno?
I mean, you'd go away from Sterling now.
Yeah.
I think Bruno Fernandes is by far the best shout out of all of those. I think you got a lot of fixture rotation with Sterling and Gundogan. DCL is a bit, I don't know, he can either bang or he can not. So for me, Bruno is safe and he's probably the one who's going to get the most points.
Digne or Pereira, Ben?
Oh my, wow. I'm gonna go. I don't know. Either of them are really good options. I'm gonna Digne.
Digne. Josh, bench Rudiger or Soucek?
Definitely bench Rudiger in my opinion. Soucek has the ability to score against that City team, especially aerially. I think that's one area that they haven't really been tested too much is from set pieces. So I think that'll be interesting to see if Soucek can get in amongst the goals. And anyway, Rudiger's facing Liverpool and Man United. Can't really see them keeping a clean sheet in either of those.
7 minutes to go. Josh, what did you do? Remove Sterling from the lineup, or you just let him be there because he'll start the second game?
I haven't seen the rumours and how trustworthy it is. So for me, I'd probably keep him because even if he doesn't play today, he'll probably play the next one. So I wouldn't worry too much. I don't think you thought he'd play both anyway, given the minutes he had in midweek.
Either way, I still need the 5 minutes in the next 5 minutes. So Josh, how many points are you hoping for this week?
I'm going to hope that I can top a ton. I hope I can get 100. I think that's quite viable with the players that I have in my team right now. So many explosive players in there. I'm hoping for the second 100 haul of the season.
100, Ben?
120 minimum.
Cool.
120 minimum. Okay, those are very huge targets, and I'm going to go for 121 minimum. So that's what I'm targeting this week. Yeah, 6 minutes to go for the deadline, so you guys go make any changes you want to do. Josh again is playing his bench boost. Ben is playing his triple captain. I have stressful thoughts about Sterling now, but yeah. Anyway, I thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for all your questions. All the best in the biggest game week in FPL history. Thank you for watching. Keep staying safe. Shout out to Ben and Josh. Follow them on FPL Graduates on every single platform. Yeah, every single platform. I'll catch up with you guys later.